Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Okay, today in the Dungeon Dive, we are going to take a look at a bunch of Mork Borg bestiaries. Bestiaries are always so fun to look at. I remember even as a little kid going to the bookstores like B. Dalton Books or Walden Books in the mall and going back to the little gaming sections that they would have and stealing peeks inside, the original monster manuals and things like that. And even before I played RPGs or was really into them as games, I always loved looking and reading through bestiaries as just kind of a weird works of fiction. And I think over the years, they have become more like weird works of fiction. And that is especially true in the Mork Borg world of supplements. Because Mork Borg is so light on the rules, it leaves a lot of room for fiction. And a lot of the bestiaries that we are taking a look at today are interesting to read and they are interesting to use in your games of Mork Borg. Some of these books and supplements we have taken a look at before within other videos, but I wanted to combine everything into one video so that somebody who is looking for Mork Borg bestiaries can have all of this information presented to them in a single video. And if I failed to present anything, I know there are so many supplements to Mork Borg out there. I'm sure I'm missing a whole bunch. But let me know what your favorite kind of specific bestiaries are. There are bestiaries within other supplements for Mork Borg, but today we're focusing on the things that are basically just bestiaries, or at least have a really interesting bestiary. So let's start with the one that is just actually called Bestiary. So Bestiary here, this is the newest book in my Mork Borg collection, and I recently purchased this from Exalted Funeral. This is written by Jake Milner with art by Ben Jones. And this is such a great example to start with in connection with talking about bestiaries as works of weird fiction, because this is written like a field guide, like a field journal, kind of like how very old school bestiary would have been written. And there's a lot of myths and legends and really cool little snippets of fiction to read, in addition to all of the rules that you will need in order to play the encounters that this book contains. So the table of contents here, the monsters, the beasts, the creatures in the bestiary are separated into geographic locations. We have saltwater horrors. We have creatures of the forest on city streets. Rats will be in the city streets. Anything that's bold kind of has a subsection there. Beneath icy tundra, underground. And then we have a little adventure, and the adventure kind of revolves around actually finding this bestiary, finding a bestiary within the Mork Borg world. Here we have a little bit of a balancing section here on how to balance Mork Borg with other games, how to convert, and what the numbers mean. So this is pretty good because Mork Borg, even though it often gets lumped in with other OSR games, I don't think Mork Borg is OSR at all. For me, it's very NSR. It's a new school rules, new school renaissance. It's very, very light on mechanisms, and I usually find a lot of OSR stuff to be pretty clunky, actually. But Mork Borg is super streamlined, but this just gives you some numbers to use in case you want to convert this into other more traditional OSR systems. And here we have some example of some of the fiction. The artifact which has come into your possession, this book that you hold in your hands, the diary of one Renford P. Logan. These notes, however crude they may seem, however cursed and however twisted, are notes that I would guard with my life. You would prize this book from the skeletal clutches of my grave, and most likely you have. Thus, it falls to you to finish what I have started. A complete inventory of the wicked fauna that plague this cold and dying land, a catalog of cursed beings. Though you should know this one thing, the beasts contained within this page of this book lay dormant in myth. They are memories and legends, likely You have never heard of them and could at this juncture spend the remainder of your life never knowing that they exist. It is to lay eyes on them that brings them to life, and that, my friend, is your curse. Beware. That's such a fantastic opening to a bestiary and really does set the stage for this entire book. If you want a bestiary that is just as fun to read as it is to play, just as fun to read as a work of fiction as it is to use as a tool in your solo or traditional RPGs, I can highly, highly recommend Bestiary. I am so glad that I got this. We have things like a chain whale, razor teeth. There's another fish, so you could add that to your fishing supplement when you go on your fish Borg expeditions. A fetid fog, creatures of the forest. We have the Stitcher's bird, the glow maggots, the rot moss, the peony barnacle, the wind spirit. Cairn stones by the roadside mark the perimeter of barren plains where the wind spirit roams. The air carries its whispers, saying, "Come, children, come. You are hungry, and I will lead you to eat." Yeah, that's super cool. Then we have all of our stats. So the stats are very, very simple in Mork Borg. Of course, we have HP, a morale, a couple types of damage, and an armor, and then usually some kind of bonus, some kind of extra power that they might have. Here we have the follicle fly. The follicle fly is depicted here on the cover, but the spawn of the follicle fly grows unnoticed beneath the skin until its proboscis begins to sprout like hair. Oh man, that's nasty. This has some really, really good body horror in here as well. On city streets, we have some things that you might meet in one of the weird Mork Borg cities. I really like this creature here, the fevered self. It's a sweaty manifestation of the worst aspects of your personality. It looks like you, it sounds like you, but it is sick and won't ever stop. When a witch lays a curse upon the arrogant ego, these manifestations crawl up from the dirt to hunt down and replace their namesake. Oh man, that is super cool. That's super creepy. That could be a whole adventure in and of itself there. The old bag and bone man. The iron tongue. Oh, look at that. Yeah, super, super cool. Beneath the tundra here, so we have these underground creatures here. The wary giant. He of the Barons, or the Barons. He of the Barons. Again, trying to sometimes read Mork Borg supplements can be kind of a game in and of itself. Trying to parse through and decipher the weird text and fonts and everything. But hey, that's part of the fun, right? Yeah, this book is really cool. Here's the little adventure that it has where you're trying to find the actual bestiary within the within the realm that you are playing in. And here we have this is a new class here, kind of a vampire class. And these guys are called the Camazot. And so if you wanted to play some kind of vampire class, you could play those guys. But yeah, Bestiary, written by Jake Milner and art by Ben Jones. This is a must-have, I think, in your Mork Borg library. Okay, coming up next, we'll take a look at 40 Fiends, and this is a bestiary, a collection of monsters in a manual. From the darkness, they emerge. So this was a project director by Quentin Olafson and written by Toby Lancaster. So Toby Lancaster, we've covered a couple of his games before on the channel. Radzone, and most recently 2D6, probably his most successful game ever. People are loving this game, and rightly so. All right, so 40 Fiends, as the name suggests, you have 40 different fiends, 40 different beasts in this bestiary, and this also has some random charts in the back that are very useful. I thought the table of contents here is in the back. So we have all of the creatures in alphabetical order. Some types, diseases, and some different tables that you can roll up on. Now, one thing that I find that is missing in a lot of Mork Borg bestiaries, actually in all of the Mork Borg bestiaries I have, are random tables to roll up an encounter. And I know that Mork Borg really doesn't work in that way, but sometimes as a solo player, I want tables to roll up on with enemies, with beasts, with encounters in a kind of class level, in a challenge level. And so what I'm thinking about doing is on my own, kind of just making up my own database of all of the creatures that I have in my various various bestiaries and ordering them in power levels and probably based on their HP, because HP is kind of a good indicator of the power level, how much hit points they would have. We have things like a skin phantom. We have the the Lifligur, the fungal geist. I love that fungal geist. That is super cool. The musty bloater, the slimy gorger, Quinn, the cursed, the void creep, hive spirits. And each one of these has a little bit of fiction, maybe a way that you can introduce it into your world, a little bit about the creature itself, like the verm grubs or the fang frogs, the acid apes. And then let's get to the back of the book here, because it does have some pretty useful random tables. One of the things it has is a list of diseases, and this is pretty cool. How many diseases are there? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you could have a D8 table of diseases. We have the Blora horundi, the Blugel sputum, the Bergen breath, the Glamid mire, the Limmer of the basilisk, Stana boils, the Svepper growths, and the Tilron hives. And this will give you all of the things that you will need to inflict those awful diseases on your characters or on the players there. Very cool. And here we have the tables. Here we have the ghastly wounds, sharp weapons, and blunt weapons. You might have, before you can duck backwards, the blade catches your cheek. I think that should say, not check, your cheek, butterflying it open, exposing the bone. And maybe on a blunt weapon here, the head of the weapon collides with your thigh, reverberating through your body. You glance down and see blood gushing through the clothing where the muscle has been split. Nasty. We have some lurid liquids here if you need to roll up some random liquids. Prophetic happenings, D20, just weird things that are going on. Sundering tempest and parasites appear, 2D10 tables. Unexpected deaths. When you die, you could roll up that to see how your character died. And when you come across a creature, what is it doing? You can roll a D20, and if you roll a 16, the creature flinches as its skin flakes and begins to shed. In 3 turns, fight a revelation skeleton. So the creature turns into some kind of skeleton. It sloughs off its skin there. If you want to roll up some random monster things, we have monster weaknesses, concealed weapons, creature companions, and then also monster cults, different ways to roll up some cults. So yeah, 40 Fiends, this is a really cool book. I like reading this book a lot, and it has some good information. So something a little bit different next is we have taken a look at Chocalypse's Solitary Depths. This is an expansion for Solitary Defilement, the unofficial, official solo rules for Mork, Borg, and one of my favorite sets of solo rules. But this has a really cool way to generate creatures on the fly. And I think this is especially useful for the solo player, because sometimes when you're playing solo, you don't know what you're going to face off against next. You don't have an idea of what kind of creature is coming next. And you have all of these other bestiaries, and you don't know where to even start looking. And so you can come to Solitary Depths, and you could just very quickly, with this book and a deck of cards, come up with a combat encounter. We have ways for enemy combat modifiers, different ways that they might approach combat differently. And then we have really basic stats for your basic creatures. You know, a 2 hit point, 6 morale, D4 attack, no armor. And you could roll a D20 and just come up with a really simple enemy stats generator for something on the fly, just to keep your game going. But here we get into the more detailed rare monster generator. So this procedure uses a deck of cards to create a rare encounter or other special monster as an alternative to the monster approaches. The monster approaches was in the original book here. At the start of each dungeon, shuffle the deck, then draw as many as 5 card piles as you need and set them aside as rare encounter bosses for the dungeon. So that's pretty cool. So you could take your deck of cards here and shuffle that up. And maybe you're going to, in your dungeon, you have to face off against 2 special enemies. And you can say that's your quest. You know, once you have faced off against your second special enemy, that dungeon is done. So we could take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so let's just take a look at this first creature here. So in our first kind of sub-objective room, our side quest room, we are going to face off against this creature here. Okay, first, draw 2 cards to describe the visual form and intention. Okay, so let's see what it looks like here. The overall look should tie back into the dungeon's theme. If the look really doesn't fit, select another one. So again, as a solo player, you always have permission from yourself to cheat, to change things on the fly if things don't make sense and if things aren't fun. Okay, so we have the 7 of spades here, the 7. This is a reptilian humanoid. And it is an ace here. It has too many legs. Okay, so some kind of like, maybe like a centipede reptile or something. Some kind of weird reptile with just way too many legs. Now we look at the first and second card, and we look at these suits. We have a spade and a heart here. So let's find spade and heart. It wishes to amalgamate with the characters. Oh, it's going to like assimilate us. Maybe it'll shed its skin and wrap its skin around us or something. All right, so card 3, let's see what its HP and armor are. HP is the card number. So we have the queen here. I think all faces are 10. So it has 10 HP. So this is a pretty powerful enemy. And the face card, if it's a face card, it's a D4 armor. Okay, so it has 10 hit points with D4 armor. Now let's see what its morale is. The morale is the card number, so its morale is 3. That dictates how easy it is for that creature to try to escape, to turn tail, to lose its morale and run from us. And now we have card 5 is the attack. Choose the damage die closest to the card number, so it would be a D10. For example, a 5 is a D6. Face cards are a D10. This is a pretty powerful creature. We may want to run from this creature. However, we also have some other combinations. So cards 3 and 4 are special attacks. Feel free to replace stats or dice numbers with the following list. So we have a diamond and a heart here. We can look at the diamond and heart. It cannot use powers around it. Oh my god, so not only is this creature pretty powerful, but we cannot use any of our powers. So if we were a spellcaster, we couldn't use any of our omens or our scrolls around this creature. We also have ways to add difficulty to the creature and so on. So yeah, really cool little kind of on-the-fly bestiary in solitary depths from Chocalypse. And this is something that I do recommend. Very, very cool book here. Okay, next up is something a little bit different. And this is actually a supplement for Forbidden Psalms. But anything in Forbidden Psalms is completely 100% compatible with Mork, Borg, and vice versa. And this is called Forbidden Wilderness. Now, Forbidden Wilderness is actually a collaboration with another game about these weird kind of cryptids in a haunted, old-timey America with like Paul Bunyan and Johnny Appleseed. And so this book here is, you have a scenario that you can play within Forbidden Psalms, but we also have a bunch of these really bizarre cryptids. And the nice thing about this is we actually have a D100 roll for a random cryptid. And we have things like the axe-handle hound, the ball-tailed cat, the dingmaw, the gummaroo, the hoogag, the jackalope, the snallygaster, the snipe, and so on. And most of this book is a really cool bestiary that just details each one of those weird creatures. It doesn't have a lot of fiction. I wish there was more fiction, especially given the theme of this book, of it being, of the creatures being based on kind of old cryptids from an old-timey America with a kind of an Americana myth going on. I think that would be cool if each one of these had a little bit more story, but you do get their special attacks and how they would play in Forbidden Psalm. And you can very, very easily adapt that to Mork, Borg and have these kind of really bizarre encounters with these cool cryptids. So this was based on the Fearsome Wilderness Miniatures range and board game. And Forbidden Wilderness, it provides you with new monsters and a new hunt. So you can kind of have a monster hunt scenario. I actually did review Forbidden Wilderness and it was somewhat lackluster in my opinion. I love the theme and I like what they were trying to do, but I felt like the game just kind of fell flat. But this is a supplement that does not fall flat. Okay, next up we have this very long, large book here, kind of a CD long box look here. And we have Kahlo's Book of Monsters, a collection of foes. And this is written by Philip Reed, one of the hardest working men in the business here. And this is a super cool bestiary that has a lot of good fiction. Again, like the first book we looked at, like Bestiary, this book is just as fun to read as it is to use as a tool. Because not only do you have all of the stats and everything that you will need for all of your monsters, but you have different hooks on introducing them as an adventure. We have different adventure hooks. We have a little bit about what this bestiary is and how to use it. A history of this bestiary, like the bestiary we took a look at. This is kind of written as a field guide, and it's really fun to read. I love it. But we have different ways of involving the heroes, and then we will have all of our stats. So if you're looking for a bestiary that's good to generate random adventures, I think this is one that you should definitely take a look at. We have the ethereal death mantis, the foul cat. The six-limbed monstrosity is unlike most of the giant cats of the known lands. Although it is a monster, the creature's two small limbs, arms that end in wicked clawed hands, and its intelligence make it particularly dangerous. The foul cat possesses just enough intelligence to use its hands to open doors and manipulate objects, and it will instinctively grab foes so they cannot escape. Nasty there. The hell-touched unicorn, the eternal stalker, the lonely spirit. Man, that is a great piece of art there. So cool. And then in the back here of this bestiary, we also have a couple random tables, I believe, and an adventure. Let's get to it here. This is a great book. I love reading this book. That's right. This has D66 rumors. I love random tables of rumors because you can very, very quickly generate an adventure. All right, let's take a look. Let's use our Mork Borg inspired dice here. Pink is 10s. We have 14. Okay, so what rumor are we facing off against? Yesterday, a guardsman found the skin of an elderly woman in an alley. It is as if the woman's internal organs and bones were sucked out, leaving behind a limp, sagging meat sack. Awesome. That is the start of an adventure right there. What happened? Maybe some kind of weird murder mystery in Mork Borg. And here we have Castle Skullrod. So this is a little adventure. You have a hex crawl, and then I believe it also has a small, nope, just a hex crawl. So yeah, super cool. So this is Callow's Book of Monsters. Destroy your campaign with new monsters, rumors, and adventure hooks. Highly recommended. And this is actually from Steve Jackson Games. So even Steve Jackson is getting in on the Mork Borg fun. The last three books we'll take a look at real quick. These have been covered before on my channel and on other channels, but we have Creatures of the Dying World by Johnny Bluesit. And so far, I think there are only 3. I'm not sure if a 4th one has come out. The 3rd is the newest one that I have, but we have issues 1, 2, and 3. These are cool. I like the size of them. They're kind of like old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic size. I remember those came in like larger comic book size. And these are a lot of fun to read. They have very interesting creatures. Not all of the creatures have stats. Sometimes the creatures just have fiction. These are all available on Exalted Funeral. I think they're exclusive to Exalted Funeral. But these will have good fiction and good creatures. And I like the unique art, even in Mork Borg, even in a game with a lot of unique art. This art stands out for its kind of watercolor and maybe a little bit more cartoony style, like this depiction of Dagon there. You cannot kill a god, you fool, so don't even try. Lord of the briny deep. It is said that drowned sailors served Dagon in the sunless court at the bottom of the endless sea. It is also said that those who set forth upon the sea do so at Dagon's pleasure, that the winds and storms are at his command. I would really like to see an entire cosmic horror bestiary. That would be really cool. And especially since all of those creatures are pretty much in public domain. Yeah, somebody get on that. Somebody with more spare time than I do. Let's make let's put together a cosmic horror bestiary with like the King in Yellow and all kinds of weird creatures here. The Living Wall, the Miasma, the Plague Doctor, the Muck Crawler. So these are just creatures. You don't get any kind of random tables or any kind of additional things in these Creatures of a Dying World. The brownies, we are the littles there. The haunted death masks, the frozen souls, the hunger spirit. That looks like something from that Forbidden Wilderness kind of. Oh, hey, a jackalope. There's also a jackalope here. Let's compare the jackalopes. Let's see here. Jackalope. I think these are in... I have to find the jackalope here. All right, jackalope. Where are you? Oh, they are in alphabetical order. Okay. So jackalope. HP of 1. This has an HP of 9. So this jackalope is much more powerful. A morale of 1. A morale of 12. Small and fast. It's a DR 15 to hit. This jackalope is not small and fast, so it would be just a DR 12. Hunted for their soft pelts and tasty meat. Their feet are believed to bring good luck, and their antlers can be made into handles for small tools. Jackalopes are not aggressive, but will gore a hunter's ankles if cornered. I think this jackalope is definitely more aggressive. And this has a special attack that a model within 1 inch of the jackalope may spend whiskey. If they do, the jackalope flees the table. Nice. All right, so we have 2 different creatures. I wonder how many other crossover creatures there are. That would be an interesting study to do. Talking Crow, the Unterspan, the Yeti, the Venus Mantrap. That looks like Dirk the Daring there from Dragon's Lair. And then finally here we have Creatures of the Dying World at number 3, with creatures like the Ambler and Azrael, the Deep Lurker, the Celestial Color. It is said that they dwell in the silent spaces between the stars, that they do not travel as men do, that for them there exists a shorter distance between points than the straight line. To look upon them is to court madness. That's kind of like your color out of space there. The Gray Man, that's a super cool creature. The Hunt, the Headsman, the Lord of the Flies. That's depicted here on the cover there, but that is a great drawing there. I love that drawing. Then this has a really funny creature here, the Shipbirds there, the Slime Mold, the Wicker Man. And this actually does have a table here. So very cool. I always like when books sneak in random tables for use. So that's all the books that we'll take a look at. Next up, we have some decks of cards. Decks of cards are my favorite RPG tool, and I like these decks of cards. I wish there are a few more Mork Borg decks of cards coming out. There seemed to be a series of them that hit Kickstarter not too long ago, and I think I have 3 or 4 coming soon. I think a couple from Exalted Funeral, and I'm really looking forward to those. So this deck here is actually available as a print-on-demand deck of cards from Drive-Thru RPG. And this is the Endless Demon deck. And this was originally for the Masticator Gate, which we have taken a detailed look at that supplement before here. But this is a really cool bestiary in a deck of cards that you can draw up some interesting random creatures by having a deck of heads here. So we have all kinds of different heads. And then we have a deck of bodies here. So we have a whole bunch of different bodies, heads, bodies. This is like one of those kids books, those mix and match monster books. If you guys remember those were always so much fun. But I would love to see, oh man, getting this in a spiral bound mix and match book would be super cool. But I also do love cards. And then you just draw one of each to put together your monster. So we have the Hooded Warlord, and this is in a maze here. This is in a phantasmal maze. So the thing with this deck of cards is you do need a copy of the Masticator Gate, and that is also a book that is available on Drive-Thru RPG in this print-on-demand hardback version. And this is a really cool, very, very detailed kind of campaign supplement for Mork Borg. And this has a lot of ideas in it. And some of these cards will reference this book. So unfortunately, you can't just get the cards. So he has an Aura of Violence special. Pass a Toughness DR 12 test or suffer -2 presence and +1 strength and toughness until this demon is slain. Pass a Presence DR 10 test for each round or attack a random target, friend or foe. He has a Mantle of Brutality. He has a Warlord, so he has HP of 19, a Morale of 9, a Leather Armor of a -D2 damage, and a Shield at -1 damage. He's a Master Swordsman, and his damage is D6, and it has a defensive DR of 14. So, and he also protects or lives in this phantasmal maze, and the rules for the phantasmal maze are in that book. Let's do another one here. We have the Horned Void Wraith, with a companion named a Stitched Mind Companion. And again, the stats for the Stitched Mind Companion are in the book. But this is a hard-headed special. Fumbled melee attacks result in a broken weapon, so he can break your weapon. He has a profaned ward. Unclean powers automatically fail against this demon. He's a void wraith with a 17 hit points. Void form, 50% no damage. Ouch. And he has void claws and a couple random abilities there. So really fun. I like mixing and matching the body parts in order to create an interesting encounter. And I think this deck is a lot of fun. It has cool art and some cool things going for it. All right, the next up here, the penultimate thing we'll take a look at today. And this is the deck, the Bestiary deck for Forbidden Psalm. And this is available on Exalted Funeral. And this just has a ton of monsters from Forbidden Psalm, from the miniatures version of Mork Borg, and all of the stats and everything that you will need to fight these creatures. Now, the powers are tailored for a skirmish game, so it's going to mention things like distance and inches and so on, but those can very, very easily be ignored and adapted to a Theater of the Mind version of Mork Borg. And this deck of cards is awesome. I love this because it's super easy to just shuffle up and draw a monster, and then that is the monster that you will fight. It has all of your rules and all of your stats all on a single card. You don't need any other books or anything except for this deck of cards. Let's look at a couple examples here. Let's give this a nice shuffle. And what do we have here? We have the Blood Rage Vampire. It has an HP of 10. It will never escape, a morale of 0. It has a D6 bite, an armor of 2, and special. Heals an amount of HP equal to the damage that it deals. So it siphons your life and heals its own. Here we have the Kath Palug. Has an HP special. Can only be killed by the Kaldwich Sword, which ignores the Kath Palug's armor. If dealt 15 damage by the Kaldwich Sword, the Kath Palug is destroyed and never returns. So that would be interesting. If you drew that card, you could actually have a little side quest to go and find that sword. I'm not sure where the stats for that sword are, probably in one of the Forbidden Psalms books, but you could always just make up a cool sword. We have taken a look at a couple supplements before on rolling up swords. And then finally, today we have the Pirate Borg reference cards. And this is, again, like the last deck of cards we looked at. This is a cool little supplement that has a bestiary in a deck of cards. So this supplement, the Pirate Borg reference card supplement, has all kinds of great cards to use for your games of Mork Borg, and if you're playing Pirate Borg, specifically for Pirate Borg. But you have all of your stats for all of your different ships, and all of your different rituals, which are the powers, the omens, the scrolls that you use in Mork Borg, and then a whole bunch of different treasure. But I think the main focus and the real star of this set here is the bestiary cards, So we have all of these kind of generic creatures. They're not generic, but these are all the kind of the standard creatures, such as a zombie sea turtle, 3-headed monkey, the mouth of 1,000 corpses. And then on the back of each one, you will have all of your different stats and a little bit of lore. So the mouth of 1,000 corpses, an ancient great white shark corrupted by the necrotic energy that flows through the dark Caribbean. Its hundreds of scars have morphed into runes from unknown civilization. They glow green in the water around it. Then it gives you all of the different ways to encounter that creature. So you have acid jellyfish, brine, piranha, carrion gulls, cursed orca, eldritch eel, the harbinger albatross, the hive vines, necro swine, the primeval lurker, the psychedelic macaw. So all kinds of super cool creatures there. And then we get some more interesting, maybe some more unique encounters here with some really cool art. And we have these kind of big Leviathan, big sea monster creatures. We have the Leviathan, we have Davy Jones, the Kraken, and the undead Megalodon. These could be used as kind of like bosses, maybe to end an adventure, to end a small campaign. We have some deep ones here. So we have the Sea Wraith, the Gorilla Crab, the Drowned, and the deep ones. These are kind of like a faction here. You can tell because they have matching colors there. And then we have these guys here, the Siren, the Coral Shoggoth, and the Black Coral Crab. We have the Obscure Oyster Cult and the Scavenging Seagulls. And then we have some of our pirates, so some of our pirate crews here. We have the Admiral, the Bilge Rat, the Grog Barrel, and the Rope Monkey. And all of the things there. So if you wanted to put together kind of a crew of skeletal pirates for your games of Pirate Borg, you could use these bestiary cards for your crew as well. We have the Skeletal Bosun, the Skeleton Captain, Deadeye Skeleton, the Skeleton Hulk, and the Skeleton Lookout, and the Rank and Vile Skeleton, the Skeleton Warlock. So these are all of your skeleton creatures here. I always love fighting skeletons. They're my favorite enemy in any game. Anytime a video game has a skeleton enemy, I kind of automatically just love it. It's just, I don't know, it's just always fun to fight skeletons. We have some humans here, the Naval Mastermind and the Inquisitor. And then our ghost crew here. So we have the ghost, the Quartermaster, the Ghost Monkey, the Ghost Crew, and the Ghost Captain. So I love these crew cards. I think those are really cool. And then finally, we have two special creatures, the Sunken One and the Necromancer. So this is a great supplement. I'm not 100% positive that it's still available. I got it when I pre-ordered my copy of Pirate Borg, and I would bet that it is at least available in a DIY and a PDF form. But all right, everybody. Well, I hope you enjoyed this kind of exhaustive and extensive look at the Mork Borg Bestiary supplements in my collection. If you know of some others that you really like or that you are waiting for that look cool, leave a comment below so we can all take a look at them. So, all right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.